3, and we've talked about Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which were taken out of Judah. They were caught, made captive. And they were taken to Babylon under this king named Nebuchadnezzar. And were put through these trials. They've already gone through several. I don't know if you ever read the book of Daniel. Alright, well, Daniel was able to interpret a dream Nebuchadnezzar had, a prophetic dream, which foretold all history very accurately. So accurately that people claim Daniel couldn't possibly be true. Skeptics of the Bible say that must be fake. That must not be true. But of course, Dead Sea Scrolls came along and proved it was true. You know, I mean, even from an archaeological standpoint, outside of our faith, we know it's true. So, in the beginning of Daniel 3, King Nebuchadnezzar makes a big statue of himself and he tells them, "You will all worship me. You will bow down to this statue." Even though, just before this, God, the real God, has shown himself, revealed himself to Yahweh in a supernatural way. So he's somewhat humbled, but he just goes right on in the next chapter to force all the people to exalt him. So Daniel 3, 7 to 12 says, "So at the sound of the musical instruments, all the people, whatever their race or nation or language, bowed to the ground and worshipped the gold statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. But some of the astrologers went to the king and informed on the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, 'Live long the king. You issued a decree requiring all the people to bow down and worship the gold statue when they hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and other musical instruments. That decree also states that those who refuse to obey must be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whom you have put in charge of the province of Babylon. They pay no attention to you, your majesty. They refuse to serve your gods and do not worship the gold statue you have set up.'" And you remember who the Chaldeans are, right? They're the lawyers. They're the ones that got shown up. Maggie, you okay?
Yeah.
All right. Can you think of any examples of combining music and idol worship in our culture? Can you think of anybody that worships and uses their, like American Idol? I guess they do rap music now. When I was a kid, it was heavy metal. Alright. Back when I was a boy, we used to play heavy metal on guitars. Alright. And Jen. So, these two have always been connected. This is nothing new. In our culture, you know, we see music very rarely exalts God, maybe in our cars, but not in general, right? All around us, we're surrounded by music that exalts what? Sex, drugs, and rap music. Used to be rock and roll too, but I guess that's changed also. Satan is particularly clever at using music to promote his false religion. Now, what do you need to do today to receive punishment for being burned alive? Those two different thoughts, but still. What do you need to do? What crime do you have to commit to be burned alive in our culture? Name 3. Eric.
I don't know of any crimes in this culture that we burn people alive.
Really, can you think of any crimes that have recently happened that you feel like, it might be alright to burn that guy alive?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, how about the guy that imprisoned those girls in his basement and, you know, did bad things with them for like 10 years till they finally got caught?
Yeah.
Maybe throw the guy in the fire. I don't know. Just saying. Oh, probably not. Why? Because we're merciful, right?
Yeah.
Right? Is that right? We just go ahead and stick him a nice little needle in his arm, tell him night-night, and that's it. Or what?
Burn him.
Burn him. Right. You put Christine in the basement, buddy. Burning you is not even good enough. Right? Say your prayer first. Okay, you're on fire. That's how I feel. Okay, so, but that's not our culture, is it?
No.
That isn't our culture. It's not the culture we live in. But here we go, back in the old days, remember what they crucified Christ for? Claiming to be God. That was it. That's all he had to do in their culture. And crucifixion, bad way to go. I'm thinking burned alive, crucified, pretty much terrible, right?
Yeah.
So, what happens to you today if you refuse to worship the idols of our culture?
Nothing.
Other than slight walking, you know.
Yeah, I mean what? Nothing really. Who has ever been?
You did that.
What did I do?
It could have unplugged to see if
Okay.
it's
It's still on though.
the light
I
stuff.
think I pushed the button.
Yeah.
Freeze. Fix it for me, Eric.
Dun, 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 dun,
Eric, the IT man.
Alright, so, if you refuse to worship the idols in our culture, what happens?
Nothing.
Come on, can anybody think of anything bad that happens to you? If you missed last week's American Idol,
You're not.
you refused to go to the rock show.
You're not cool.
Yeah, you're not cool.
You're not cool?
You're weird.
Now, I might just be old, but I don't care at all about being cool. I mean, how important is that?
Yeah, important.
It's
some
important to
people.
some people. Right. All right, so the people in Babylon were pragmatic. What's the easiest way to deal with an edict from the king? Okay, be honest. The king says, you will come and bow before the statue, or I'm going to throw you in the fire. What do?
Probably for the statue, so you don't get thrown in the fire.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, even now. All right, what if you get, there's a law passed. You need to say you pledge to this flag. Whatever it is.
My
Remember
life
last week?
insurance.
Like the crescent, right? You got to salute this crescent flag. It's one we were talking about last week. Who a lot of people have to salute. It's not like they have a choice. Hey, pray 5 times a day. Unless you feel like not praying 5 times a day, in which case we'll just leave you alone. Is that true? Or are there right now religious systems on earth where people have no choice at all? You must adhere.
Yeah.
You must come.
Yeah.
You will come,
Yeah.
and you will be quiet.
Yeah.
You might think whatever you're thinking, but buddy, you're going to be on your knees 5 times a day with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Right? Well, whatever. 3, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
So, oh, and you're going to face the right direction too. Don't think you're going to pray facing north, pal. Because Allah doesn't like that. All right?
We weren't mentioning the God.
But the thing is easiest to do is just follow it, right? Follow it. If a guy says, say a prayer and we're not saying under God afterward, I already told you, I'm not saying it. I'm not pledging allegiance to that flag unless it's under God. God first, flag second. God first, flag second. I'm not saying it if I don't say under God. Period. I'm not. I won't. Does it matter? Only to people who really know God, right? I already got my mind made up. That's why it matters to me. It didn't matter to me before. It didn't matter to me when I was first Christian. I could have cared less. In fact, I thought, give me a break. Who cares? If you don't want to say it, don't say it. If you want to say it, say it. So what? And I still sort of think that, in which case I don't think they have to say it. I just think I'm gonna. I'm gonna. God first, flag second. That's why. Now, what does Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego have in common with me? How am I expressing their exact opinion?
God first.
God first. King second, right? He says, go, you're going to get in this fire. They said, no, we're not. You know we're not. You know why? I'm not worshiping your statue or Allah or anything other than God. So, remember how powerful Daniel became when he alone was able to interpret the king's dream. Okay, real brief thing. The king said, you either will tell me what I dreamed and what it meant, or I'll put you all to death. And of course, they weren't able to do it, because who can do that? God alone, right? So Daniel alone interpreted the king's dream, and he was elevated in status. His 3 friends kind of followed along with him because they prayed with him. They were kind of like a clique, like a group, you know? The only religious or, God-worshiping people in the whole province Babylon. So they also were elevated, but not to the same level of Daniel. So he gained much power through this, like temporal power, earthly power. He became a governor or whatever it was. So the Chaldeans' religion was shown to be bogus, and Daniel asked the king to spare them too, right? The king was going to kill all of them. They couldn't do it. Kill all those guys unless you can tell me the dream. Well, they couldn't tell him the dream. But Daniel goes to the king, king, please spare those guys. Give them a break. So he interceded for the people who are now going up to King Nebuchadnezzar and saying, those 3 guys didn't follow your rule. They didn't follow your edict. You got to punish these guys. It's just interesting how pagans act like pagans, you know? You pick up a snake and it bites you. Don't pick up a snake. Or a, whatever, spider. Mean dog, rat, I don't know, whatever it is, bite you. So the Chaldeans remembered this. They remembered. And this was their chance. They said, look, we can get these guys back. Let's get these guys. Right? So maybe Daniel was away, and maybe he was just too powerful too. Because they didn't come to the king and say, Daniel won't worship your statue. But I think it's fair to assume from the rest of the book of Daniel, Daniel didn't have some change of heart, and he wasn't like out there worshiping the statue, right? He was just too powerful. He was above them. They didn't dare challenge Daniel's authority. Daniel was in a special place. Or maybe he was out of the province or whatever. But they didn't come to the king and say, Daniel, They saw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as vulnerable, able to be gotten. So they stood up for what they believed in, just like all of us do every day. Who stands up for what they believe in every day? Every one of you, and me too. Everywhere you go, every word you say, however you live is a reflection of what you believe. Because ultimately, you will do what you believe. You will do it. There's no two ways around it. If your belief is soft and weak and small and timid, guess what? You're going to have a small, timid walk with God. Your life will reflect your faith. If I really believe that Jesus Christ came back from the dead and is actively having a relationship with me right now, guess what? My life's going to reflect it, man. I'm going to live out my faith. And these dudes were like titans. Okay, I'm a smurf. They are titans of the faith. They're huge. They passed the 2,000-year test. Remember how many people passed that? Not very many. If you do something so cool that 2,000 years from now, some guy's talking about you and all excited about it, you passed the 2,000-year test. Actually, it's more than 2,000, like 3,500, but it's carried away. 2,600. Okay, so when do you feel the most isolated and the most unique? At what time in your life do you feel the most isolated? When do you feel like you are here and everybody else is over there? Is there a time you feel like that? And I think that's somewhat natural. It's not just Christians that feel that way. I mean, you can isolate yourself by having blue hair and 7 earrings in your face and, right? Tattoos all over. Don't those people feel isolated? And how's it different? How's it different, right? I might be isolated because I'm the only Christian in a room. And maybe some other guy's so mad and so furious and so full of pain and so full of anger and regret and vengeance and all these other things that he's acting out in a completely different way, isn't he? He's hurting himself, right? So that guy sitting there with all the stuff in his face, he probably needs something from you, huh? Love, maybe? You know, maybe a little acceptance? Or maybe he's just going to be really mean to you. Who knows? Who knows? But maybe he's being mean to you for a reason. Maybe he feels like this. I don't even know where that's coming from. It didn't even occur to me when I was doing the lesson. So, there were other families that were taken out of Judah. Remember, this was like a group of them. There was a group of men, young men taken out of Judah. They were going to be indoctrinated into Babylonian ways, language, thought. And they were going to be used to rule Judah. Right? Like, how can I best rule English-speaking Americans? Well, I'm going to go get me an English-speaking American. I'm going to use him as my vassal. I'm going to make him my king. And this was common throughout this time of the world. That's how they did it. Babylon dominated lots of lands, but they left some semblance of power of those people, right? They just wanted the money, the tax, and the reverence. You know, you bow to our statutes, you take our religion. Now remember also that all of the other lands lost their religion. That's what's one of the most unique things about Judaism. It's still Judaism. Man, it's 2013, there's still Judaism. There still are religious Jews. They wouldn't surrender their religion, and they didn't surrender their religion, even though they were conquered over and over and over and over. And even though all of the other lands that were conquered were forced to give up their own religions. It's remarkable, man. So, only Daniel and these three friends, at least according to the Bible, at least from what we know, refused to compromise. They lived out their faith. Now, how hard would that be? Say everyone in our church is captured, okay? And they come up, the government says, you guys get in line. Now you're going to do this thing that, or salute our flag with a little crescent on it. You're going to say, I pledge to Allah. Okay? Which I do not. And most of them do it. Okay? Everybody does it. Say it's just you and your three pals standing here going, I'm not doing that. Well, it doesn't matter. Come on. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Your heart.
Who's watching? Just cover your heart and say, I pledge to Allah in the name of Allah. You going to do it? Because I hope when I'm standing there alone, I'm not standing there all alone. I hope there's some of y'all are with me. Right? I mean, because that is what we're talking about. All they had to do is worship a statue, man. Big deal. I got to tell you, I'm 41. For 38, at least probably 38 years of my life, I would have been like, whatever. Right? Maybe 37 years. Because even when I was a new Christian, who cares? Who cares? Right? I didn't have all this conviction. This grew out of something. Okay? You know what? I know what it grew out of. knowing God, man. Studying God's Word every week. Going to seminary, spending all my time writing papers, knowing God changed me. And the same thing is true about everyone here. Knowing God will change you. Right? Now, either you'll become over here with me and I'm a crazy lunatic who has lost logic. That could be. I mean, maybe I'm completely crazy. Maybe all this love of logic I have is complete fallacy and I've lost touch with everything and I can no longer reason, and that's why I believe in God so strongly. Or, I believe in God because now I've experienced Him. It changed my life. I opened myself to the possibility and bam, everything changed. Everything. And now when I make a decision, I go, not doing that. Because, okay, got you, God. And hopefully I make the right decisions. Not that I always do, because get real. I don't. But wouldn't it be easier and more reasonable to just conform? I mean, you're going to die if you refuse. We're not going to give you a nice little vein either here. Come on, partner, say your prayer, eat your nice meal. Okay, I know you brutally murdered 26 people, but come on, partner, say a prayer with the nice pastor and come in the nice room, lay on the nice bed, give you a little shot, and you go sleepy. No. No, these guys are being burned alive. Burned alive. Christ was crucified. They didn't just execute him. They stuck him on a tree after they whipped him. You know what I mean? So, wouldn't it be easier just to conform? Come on. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Under God. Me? Under God. Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, I already got my mind made up. I already know what I think. I already know why I think it. I already know why it's important to me. That's what gave them the power to stand. So the Chaldeans were priests, they were astrologers, lawyers. I can't spell. I mean, I can spell, but sometimes I mistype. It's already pointed out to me. For Bel-Merodach, okay, which is Satan. Okay, Bel-Merodach, just another name for Satan. Okay. I can pronounce Yahweh, Yahweh, or I can pronounce it Yahweh, right? Some guys pronounce it Jehovah. Does God know who we're talking about? By the way, it is Yahweh, not Jehovah. Okay, and they were angry. They were spiritually energized. They were energized, okay? These three Hebrews were given places of authority. Now, imagine that too, okay? As a Christian, imagine that you lived your faith every day so much that everybody that knew you were a Christian, okay? You with me? Mm-hmm. And everybody else, they're pagans, okay? They're angry at you. Just like I've experienced all the time, and I hope all of you do too. People don't like you like that because they know you're Christian, okay? Now, you get the place of honor, authority. Now you're in authority over these people. These people are like, man, that guy Christian, thinks he's better than me, whatever it is they think, okay? Now you're elevated above them. Are they shooting for you?
No.
Are they gunning for you?
Yeah.
Are they going to get you?
Oh, yeah.
If they get a chance?
Yeah.
Hey, that Christian, you know what that Christian did? He did something I do every day. Ha! Why? Why is that? Because that's a real dynamic in life. And it was a real dynamic for me when I was a pagan. Okay, I watched those Christians and I messed with them. I did. It's the truth. I did. I was angry. Not necessarily at them, but I was just angry I didn't have any meaning or purpose, and I was aware of the fact that I didn't have any meaning or purpose. It drove me crazy. I hated it. And that's why you meet a seeker who wants to argue with you. Guess why? They don't like the answers they have come up with. They don't like it. Who wants to recognize the fact that I'm temporal, I only live that long, they're telling me I randomly evolved out of goo, there is no meaning or purpose, and 100 years from now there's literally nothing I can do that will matter. Even if I have 26 kids, they're all going to die too, and that doesn't matter either. Who wants to live with that reality, man? Who wants to live like that? Because when I lived like that, can I get a witness? I was an angry, angry man. I was angry about it. So when I messed with those Christians, really I was just shaking my fist at the sky, right? So when you rise up, these guys were elevated as these three Jews, these three, not just Jews, but religious Hebrews who loved God. And they were over all these Chaldeans. That must have burned them up. They must have hated that, right? Look at the guys all walking around just trying to be an upright guy. Look at him, pumping around. Look at that jerk, looking down his nose at me. Right? Because that's what life is like. That's what life is like as then. And by the way, we're not getting smarter. Humans. Just a
Yeah,
little,
just did the
little
study.
flash for you. We're not getting smarter as we go forward. Okay? They were just as smart as us. Probably smarter. Or not. But genetically, they were the same. We're not getting more evolved. That's a fallacy. So, Daniel 3:13-15 says, Then Nebuchadnezzar flew into a rage, and he ordered that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought before him. When they were brought in, Nebuchadnezzar said to them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or to worship the gold statue I've set up? I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I've made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. And then what God will be able to rescue you from my power? That must have been terrifying. Be honest. It's scary when somebody who has authority over you threatens you. It is. It's scary. And I can talk about how bold I am or whatever, but I'm scared too. I've been arrested. I hated it. It was horrible. It was horrifying. And I wasn't getting thrown into a fire. I just had to go sit in a concrete room for a little while. Okay? This is in another life. And so, of course, this is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And
I haven't seen that one. That's a cute one. Usually I've seen all the ones you have. That's a cute one.
so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had done their duty. They learned the culture and they excelled in their positions in Babylon. They refused to bow down when it came to the law of God, though. They knew where the line was and they refused to cross it. This is different from open rebellion, right? Isn't this different? If you go to college and you excel and you get straight A's, even if you don't believe in the stuff they're shoveling you, it's okay. It is okay. Go, excel. Be good at it. You don't have to believe it. For that minute, for that whatever, you do what you got to do. This isn't conforming unless there's a clear line. Now, if somebody says, worship, say a pledge allegiance to my flag to Allah. Is that a line?
Yes.
Deny Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. Is that a line? Mm-hmm. There are certain times when, as a Christian, you got to stand up. No, I won't do that. I won't do it. Come to our schools and learn our language. You can do it? Sure, why not? Why not? Why not? If you keep this going, vertical, if you know who you are and what you believe and why you believe it, sure. I mean, come on. You got to live, you got to eat, right? It's kind of a gray area because I could be all like, live every minute for God. And you might be like, gotta go to work on Monday. Right? Where do you draw the line? That's what this whole thing's about. So, have you ever had a moment like this? You're called, come do this wrong thing. You ever done the wrong thing? Because y'all are young. I remember my buddies, hey man, we're gonna go get drunk, it's gonna be great. Yeah man, it's gonna be hot women. Whatever it was they said to me. Okay? Guess what? I did it! Okay, I did it! It was bad. Did I get any satisfaction or happiness or... I mean, come on. Let me tell you, no. No, I didn't. I got temporary, whatever. Fun. And then, despair. So sacrifice your faith and compromise your morality. When does that lead to a good thing? Somebody give me an example of a time when they were like, I know I shouldn't do it, but they... because of a moral stand, and then you did it anyway, and then it turned out to be really great for you.
Never.
Never. Never, man. Never. There's nothing worse than waking up and going, I can't believe I did that. I mean, right? It's terrible, man. There's nothing worse than regret. What's another word for regret? Hangover. There's nothing worse than a hangover, okay? What does it look like when you make a decision based completely upon the conviction that Jesus Christ is alive and knows you personally?
Prosperity. It's powerful.
It's powerful, man. My last boss told me, I know we're Christians, but you can't back them into a corner. Back them into a corner? What are you talking about, man? I didn't put them in a headlock or anything. All I did was had a nice discussion. Well, and he said, I said something to that effect. He said, well, every time I go around you, you're talking about Jesus.
Ooh.
Why aren't you, man? Right? All right. So it might be a little different. When I fail, maybe I would be more ready to defend what I knew to be right if a tyrannical king was threatening me to death, right? You say, yeah, that's one thing. You go to work and they're talking about something you know you shouldn't be talking about it, but you want to fit in, right? You don't want to be isolated all the time. You want to have some friends, right? This is just a little minor thing. So you talk about whatever it is you're talking about. Why not? Right? They're all using bad language. You use bad language. Why not? They'll accept you if you do, right? I'll tell you what, because that particular example is like a snowball going down a 1,000,000-mile hill.
That's right.
It was really hard to quit cursing for me. Some people give a testimony, they're like, yeah, I came to Jesus, quit cursing. No, not me. Not me. It was hard. And it's going to be like that in the military. In the mines, places I worked, every other word was the F word. I could say it 5 times in one sentence and make it sound totally natural. I cannot tell you. When I went to stop cursing, I prayed a lot, and I would be like, I couldn't even say a sentence. I just prayed, God, bring it to my attention before I curse. And like, I sounded like a moron. I'm like, you want to... I was really hard to quit, man. It was hard. So here you are, you're surrounded by people doing this wrong thing.
Wait, hold on, and I want to give a witness too. He used to say it in front of little children like it was nothing, like it was everyday language, and I'd be like,
Bottom left button.
Very good.
Whoa.
There you go again.
wait, hold on,
It's a moral decision. So it's like a very minor moral decision. I can say that or I can say that, right? Well, where do you draw your line? Because you know what you're supposed to do. By the way, I was like, there's no way God could possibly care what kind of language I use as a pagan, I said, I cannot imagine a God who cares if I say the F word. Like, show me the F word. Blah, I was very arrogant about it too. And then I read the Bible. Guess what? It says it like 10 times. Don't use coarse language. And I read that, because I read the Bible. When I became a Christian, I was like, he does care how I talk. How about that? Amazing, right? And next thing you know, if you're not careful, you make the one moral choice, then and then you're me. Talking in a mime, sound like a minor, right? Or wherever it happened to be too, because I couldn't really differentiate, y'all. I really couldn't. I couldn't like turn, okay, now I'm right, except old people, which helped me, elderly people, helped me not curse, because my grandma would hit me if I cursed. And for some reason that stuck with me. But anyway,
That's why
I don't
we
wanna
read
go
the
too far down
Bible.
that road. So how often do we make a stand like this? How often are we the only one in the room being God majesty? But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue you've set up. Right? Did they get all like puffed up?
I like how they were all respectful about it.
Yeah. They, look, that's fine, Belma Rodak, God of the mountain, Shadu Rabu. Guess what? That's not Shadu Rabu. That's Babylonian for great God. Right? We're not serving, that's like lowercase Shadu Rabu. We serve Shadu Rabu. And no matter what, we're not conforming. We're not going to do it. They didn't say, because if you hurt us or threaten us, God bless you. Sorry, man.
No.
Our God will like rain down fire on you or curse you, or our God will bless us, or our God will protect us, or anything like that, did they? Look, dude, we're not doing that. Your Majesty, respectfully, we're not doing it. It doesn't matter what you do to us. It doesn't matter if you kill me. I'm not doing it, Your Majesty. Right? I think that's saying something. I think that's an example of how we are to stand. How we are to stand against something we know is wrong. So, what did Nebuchadnezzar say?
That's so cute.
Yeah.
It's kind of slow animation.
I'm in the fire.
He said, you worship me right now, or I will throw you into the fire. How can you possibly resist this? This is a simple thing. I made a statue, and all the people are going to worship the statue, and so are you. So are you. I bet you he looked just like that when he said it to you. They did not say our faith is so great that even if you throw us in the fire, we'll be healed. Right? They didn't say that. They didn't get puffed up. It wasn't about them. They did not say our God will hear our cry because of our great faith from heaven and deliver us. Which are you getting the word? Have you ever heard anyone say that? Because I'm getting the word. If you believe strong enough, you'll never get sick. Lie.
Really? That's a lie.
That's a lie.
I guess
Yes.
we can work on that then.
Yes, you got me. You got me. It's a lie. Alright, they said, but even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue set up. Look, we're just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. You think like I struggled so hard to quit cursing? Why? So that y'all would think I was like, what? Holy? Cool? No, I wanted to live my faith, right? That's why we do it. We don't do it for any other reason than that. I have a relationship with God. I want my life to reflect it. We're God's, and that matters more than our lives. His approval matters more to me than yours. I'm not doing it. Why? Because the invisible God who you don't believe in told me to. That's why. Is that a good reason? Because I sound crazy. The old me would have been like, what? If you can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it, it must not be real. Because we live in a material universe, right? We're just random energy. If that's true, eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow we die. Right? Even though you're about to murder us. Oh, and by the way, that would really be hard to say. Hello, I know you're about to murder me in a horrible way, but I'm not doing what you say. Period. I'm not doing it. I think I would be energized more like, oh yeah, well, wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
I would be. I'm a very emotional person, man. I don't think I would use the rules of logic and reason. I don't know if I could. Hopefully the Spirit will be on me, maybe. Who knows? So, it's about having God first. It's biblical faith. God will or God won't. But trust His will for my life, right? I'm going to trust His providence and His power. I'm going to trust Him if I get sick and die. I'm going to trust Him if I live to be 100 years old and have so much money I can't give away fast enough. I'm going to trust Him if I get a new car, if I don't get a car, if I get a job, if I don't get a new good job, period. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust God. That's what they're saying. They were looking death in the face, man. They're like, well, I trust God. Whatever. I trust Him. I don't know if He'll save me or not, but I do know one thing. I'm not bowing down to Belmer Rodak. I'm not going to do it, or to Darwin either. Colossians 2:2-3 says, I want them to be encouraged and knit together by strong ties of love. I want them to have complete confidence that they understand God's mysterious plan, which is Christ Himself. In Him, should be capital H, lie hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. What was the mystery? Paul looked in the Old Testament scriptures. He didn't see the church age. It was a mystery to him. Christ Himself was the mystery he was preaching. He didn't foresee it. None of them did. Did the Jews recognize Christ? Nope. No. It was a mystery. He's saying you got to trust in it completely. Do you trust in it completely? Because tomorrow you're going to have a choice. And how are you going to live it out? According to your faith, that's how you're going to live it out. A biblical faith is trust in Yahweh, assurance that He is perfect in nature and morally pure than what is unbiblical faith, right? Sometimes the easiest way to understand what biblical faith is to look at what unbiblical faith is, or unfounded faith, or improperly exercised faith. Unbiblical faith is not trust in our belief. Guess what? You are not blessed more because you believe more. That is a fallacy. That is a lie. That is not biblical. You're not given more stuff because you believe more. Not true. Not true. You're not saved because you believe more. You're not blessed because you believe more. You're not. You're saved because of what Jesus Christ did. That's it. He did the saving part. All you did was the accepting it part. Right? If I have absolute faith, the bullets will not penetrate me and fire from a gun, will they? Because I believe they won't. I'm bulletproof. Nothing can kill me. Not even your gun. Is it going to save me?
No.
If I absolutely believed that the statue I carved would provide me with money and fortune if I rubbed its belly when I went in the Chinese restaurant? Because, hey, look, this isn't just a statue. This is a money statue. Okay, we did a spell on this thing, and if you rub its belly, it will bring you good luck. And who here has rubbed a statue's belly? Tell the truth. You never rubbed, that's all? Good for you. I rubbed Buddha's belly a lot when I was big, and I didn't believe in it at all. Just in case this is going to give me money and luck, let me rub this thing. Well, I care, you know? Right? So, if the idea that if I only believe enough it will happen, it might feel empowering, right? I'm getting a word. If you have enough faith, you will be blessed. Who does that empower? Who's the focal point of that blessing?
Benny Hill.
Person saying it.
Yeah, sure. It's empowering to believe that if I only believe enough, it will happen. It's empowering. Then it's all about you.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what biblical faith is not about, y'all?
You.
You or me. Okay, this would leave the power of the prayer not with God who answers the prayer, but according to his will. Like, I'm going to kind of define God's will in my life just by believing enough. Now imagine you made the universe, and now it's your universe, just for a moment, just pretend. And some guy believes something good is going to happen to him, but that's not your plan for him. Oh, let me just change my will for him, because he said a prayer. Sorry, not biblical, not coming, doesn't work that way. My boss Britt, this is a true story. My boss Britt prayed and prayed when he learned his child was going to be born with a fatal condition. He prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed in his church, prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and his wife prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and guess what?
He was born with a fatal condition.
Yeah, the child died. It destroyed his faith. Destroyed his faith.
Did you have now or one?
No, it was when I was working for
Many of
Railroad.
you are weak and sick because you don't pray. You don't ask.
Well, according to the Word of Faith preachers, that's all you have to do is believe enough. He got into a preacher, into a church and said, if you just believe enough, if you just believe enough and pray enough, if you just believe enough, your child will be healed. Well, they prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And guess what? That was not God's will for them. And the worst thing about it, he lost his faith over it. He was bitter, embittered, angry.
That's the worst, yeah.
He believed in some bogus theory,
Unbiblical.
non-biblical faith, non-biblical teaching. He believed a false teaching and he was destroyed by it. Right? Maybe that's why we call them wolves. And he hates God now. He hates him. He hates him. Isn't that a sad story?
Yes.
Why? Because he didn't have biblical faith, that's why. His faith was centered around him. If I believe enough, it will happen. If I believe enough.
Bad doctrine. Yep.
That's a sad story, man. That's a sad story. Maybe you counsel him, Britt, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen, but I know God loves you, and I know God loves your child. Let's just pray for his will to be done. Let's pray for his comfort, for his guidance, for his love. You know? That preacher teaching him that if he believed enough, it would change it.
Healthy and wealthy.
Come on, man. And by the way, nothing says that. That's not true. That's not in the Bible. Many false teachers teach that God grants favor to those who have the greatest faith. I'm getting a word. As though we can have anything, what we want if we just ask for it. Because doesn't it say, he who seeks finds, he who knocks the door will be open? Well, that must mean you can have whatever you want.
Doesn't say what's behind the door.
Jesus said, if just two of you get together and ask something in my name, I'll grant it, right? According to God's will.
According to God's will.
Now, Jesus' powers and everything, who did he always give credit to while he was on earth? God. I don't do anything apart from the Father. I don't even have the power apart from the Father.
Right,
I just do what God wants me to do, and he makes all this stuff happen. Like, he never took the glory himself. Even Jesus. Jesus was God.
However, not my will, but thine be done.
That's right. If you could take this cup from me, please do. Because I don't want to get nailed to that tree. If there's any way around this, I know all things are possible with you. I'd rather not get crucified tomorrow. Okay? Why? He did it anyway. If that doesn't show love, y'all, nothing shows love.
And he was sweating blood.
He did not want to go. Okay? He was a man. He was a human also. Who wants to get crucified tomorrow? Yeah, I would rather love God as 100 years old when I can't give away enough money, right? Yeah. The preacher, the top Brit, blah, blah, blah. I just said that. It's anti-biblical. Second type of faith, which is non-biblical, would be not trusting in what God will do. Like, you'll see, God will do it. Like perhaps when Elijah called down the fire from the sky, God did it because Elijah believed enough that God would. You might say that Elijah had such great faith that God did what Elijah wanted him to do. Anyone believe that?
No.
Look. If it's raining and I walk outside and I say, I believe that God will stop the rain. Will God stop the rain?
Maybe not. Depends on what God wants to do.
It depends on what God wants to do. That's right. That's right. We watch another preacher who for real says she can control the weather by praying. Do you don't believe in the same God I do if you believe that. Because that's not in the Bible. God doesn't do magic tricks, man, to edify your faith. If I just believe enough. Who's it about then? If I, come on. That's not what biblical faith looks like. Daniel 3:19-23 says, Nebuchadnezzar was so furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that his face became distorted with rage. He commanded that the furnace be heated 7 times hotter than usual. Again, was it actually 7 times? Was it actually 7 times?
Probably not.
It means really, really hot. Then he ordered some of the strongest men in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So they tied them up and threw them into the furnace, fully dressed in their pants, turbans, robes, and other garments. And because the king in his anger had demanded such a hot fire in the furnace, the flames killed the soldiers as they threw the 3 men in. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, securely tied, fell into the roaring flames. All right? So, you know what a megalomaniac is?
No.
Everyone heard that term before? A megalomaniac is a psychiatric disorder with delusions of power. A psychiatric disorder in which the patient experiences delusions of great power and importance. Okay? Anyone ever heard someone say of the president? Pick one. He's a megalomaniac. He's a freak. He thinks he's king. I mean, you guys not listen to the same talk radio I listen to, or what? Okay?
Radio, what's that? Yeah, for real.
Okay, all the people in the city, apparently except for 3, were worshiping a statue of you. Okay, of you. And you made a statue of you, and you put it up on a big pedestal, whatever it says, 90 feet in the air. Okay? All the people in the kingdom were, yeah, whatever. We should get this over with so I could go have a turkey sandwich. Whatever, right? They're all bowing before your statue except 3. Do you go, that's pretty good. I got every single person in the whole city except for 3 worshiping me. Right? Or, are you a freak? Do you go, there's 3 that's not worshiping me? What? Number 1, it's not worshiping you. They're just doing what you command, right?
So they don't die.
So they don't die. That's right. That's right. So, do you focus on the 99.9999% of the people or the 0.0001? Okay? Because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, probably Daniel too, although we're not sure where Daniel was, are the only ones not doing it. Everyone else is doing what they're supposed to do. Right? Focus on this if you're a megalomaniac super freak, right? Has to be everyone. You might be a megalomaniac if you say you would worry about the 3. You might actually, that was actually a test, I forgot to present it that way. This is a megalomaniac test. You make a statue of yourself in order that everyone worship it. And everyone does, except for 3 guys out of 1,000,000. Who do you care more about? The 997,999 blah blah blah, or the 3?
I think I'd be pretty worried about 3.
Uh-oh.
You might be a megalomaniac.
I don't
Okay.
know why that matters besides, I think maybe the only thing I can think of is that, oh no, everybody's gonna rebel because of these 3 people that let them go.
You can't have
It's like the
any
Hunger
dissent at
Games.
all.
Yeah!
Mm.
I hope that never happens.
Me too. That book is so scary. I stopped reading it.
We wouldn't be in it though. We're over 18.
All right, Hunger Games will be next week, but today we're gonna do Daniel. So
I'm not having kids.
So, I wanna-
What's that about?
Yay!
hey Mike,
yeah, hold on a second.
Honeymoon.
one of the things with Daniel is he interpreted the dreams from Nebuchadnezzar. He promoted him to be chief over all the land of Babylon and to handle that for him and to be in charge over priests, the priests and the dream interpreters and the court. So Daniel was in the court. He was basically in charge of the people, including Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He was
Mhm.
over them. So he was above them. It would be like those guys saying, well, trying to go to the boss to blame another boss, and they would end up getting
Sure.
killed. So that's
Sure,
why-
yeah, they didn't go to accuse Daniel. Because if Daniel had authority and power, he was above reproach. Like, you're not going to go blame your boss because your boss is going to get you back.
Yeah.
But you might be able to go blame those guys, right? And I think that's why Daniel isn't mentioned in this, and it is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I think that's exactly right. That's how I interpret it too. So the soldiers died. That's the other thing I took away from that. The soldiers died. All right. Do you think that when the soldiers grabbed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be great," or do you think they were like, "You want me to what? That is a pretty hot furnace. I don't even like to go in that room when the palace isn't hot. You have the thing stoked up 7 times higher than usual." Okay? So you get an order from whomever. Okay, it's a bad order, you shouldn't do it, it's bad for you. You gonna do it? Because I don't know if I'd follow an order like that. Mr. Potter, you work for you work for us, go do this really super dangerous thing. And do it now.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because no faith in anything beyond the statue, I guess, that they're worshiping. And they approach the furnace. All right, come with me. Now you're like, it's getting really hot. But Nebuchadnezzar told me to, so I guess I better do it. That to me says they had an awful lot of faith in something. Did they? Was it just they were afraid that their families would be killed if they didn't follow the orders?
They knew they were going to die either way.
I guess so.
Might as well die, like you said, having a family okay.
I think that approaching that furnace, you'd probably get blisters and all that. You ever been burned? I've been burned a lot because I was a welder. It's not good. It hurts a lot. And the nerves don't stop hurting until you're dead. It would be a terrible way to go. Daniel 3:24 and 25 says, "But suddenly Nebuchadnezzar jumped up in amazement and exclaimed to his advisors, 'Didn't we tie up 3 men and throw them into the furnace?' 'Yes, your majesty, we certainly did,' they replied. 'Look,' Nebuchadnezzar shouted, 'I see 4 men, unbound, walking around in the fire, unharmed, and the 4th looks like a god.'"
Or some of the guys in this one.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
Like,
Jesus.
why did he say that the fourth looks like a god? Like, why did he describe it like that?
Yeah, Jesus wasn't born for how long after this? 700 years, right? And here's this pagan king.
Because I'm guessing this conversation right here took place in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, he saw something. Well, there was a big hole where they threw the wood or coal or whatever it was into it to stoke it, right? And then it got warm and it radiated heat into a palace or something like that. So you could see into it especially from a distance. Probably as you got closer, it'd be hot, it would burn you. But you could see it. So the furnace, you're looking in there. Shouldn't be anything in there except for fire. And here's these dudes walking around in there. But he says he didn't just see 3, he sees 4. 1, 2, 4. So, a theophany is a manifestation of God that is tangible to the human senses. Okay? It's called a theophany.
That's a big word.
God reveals himself to us in our 4 dimensions, and all of a sudden we're experiencing something that's undeniably supernatural. God is revealing himself to us. It's called a theophany. Happens a lot in the Bible. Can anyone think of some one time when it happened?
Yeah, what?
A theophany.
Moses.
That is tangible to the human senses. Why are you talking like types of Christ?
No, I'm talking about a time when God revealed himself to men.
Oh, about the angel talking to Mary.
Jacob fought with an angel, and
Yeah.
then Mary. I guess if you want to go that way. Or not.
Well, the one I came up with was the burning bush. I
Burning
thought that
bush,
was
yeah.
Moses.
burning bush. I mean, God revealed himself to Moses. He talked to Moses. Also, he was a big column of fire, right? And all that above the
Yeah.
tent. I mean, it was like, they didn't look up and go, I wonder if that's God. They were like, how could you not be?
Yeah.
I mean, a supernatural manifestation of God with them in the wilderness. I mean, that would have been, wow. In fact, if I ever make a time machine, I'm going to go look. I want to see that.
No,
I'm gonna do do with that?
So a Christophany. I love temporal mechanics. We should discuss it sometime.
No,
I'm
I'm
really
not
into it. I love paradoxes. So Christophany is a manifestation of God as Jesus Christ. That's called a Christophany. When God reveals Himself in a thing, probably Jesus wrestling around with. I think so, also Joseph. But all right. So His Christophany is a manifestation of God as Jesus Christ. Now, is that limited to Him during His 3 years here and life here and then ministry here, or has Jesus been around since the beginning?
Well, it's been around since the beginning. So in Genesis, they were talking about. Right?
That's right. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through Him all things were made. Without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that life was the light of men. Right? Jesus was around. Somehow. I mean, do I really understand what I just said? Kind of. As much as my little teeny tiny temporal.
I was thinking about that last night at work, actually. I don't know why, but that
The-
verse I was
the-
thinking about last night at work.
The eternality
I
of
was
God.
just like, wow.
Yeah, I can't really hold it. That's
like-
why I love temporal mechanics so much too, because you think you got it, and you look at another angle, and all of a sudden, there it goes.
Wait, blow your mind
Yeah.
more.